Hello YouTube chess lovers and my friends, this is Gunjan here. Welcome to my 44th episode of Chess Trap series. In this episode, I am going to show you a wonderful high profile counter trap in the Sicilian Dragon from the black perspective. The critical position arises after the few mainline moves e4, c5, knight to f3, d6, d4, c captures d4, knight captures d4, knight to f6, knight to c3, and now this trademark dragon move g6. Okay, the main line continues with bishop to e3, bishop to g7, f3, castle on the king side, queen to d2, and now knight to c6. Here white has two important main lines. The old and the most popular move in this position is bishop to c4. However, in this episode we are going to look at the modern trendy line starting with castle on the queen side. Well, d5 is by far most popular choice by black, but recent theory suggests that black is having some issues. And if you check my Dirty Chess Tricks Against Sicilian Part 18, I have shown a nasty Napalm-Nishi trick which by force giving white an opening advantage. So instead of that, my recommendation here is you should continue with bishop to d7, which leads to the line in the normal dragon territory. Okay, king to b1, a prophylaxis, getting the king out of the c file and protecting the a2 pawn, and now white is all set to play the move g4 h4, a typical kingside expansion, and then launch and devastation to the black king. Okay, no issues. We are going to continue with our dragon moves. Rook to c8, g4, knight to e5. So that knight is going to launch on the c4 square. But meantime, white doesn't bother about all this and he continued with his normal attack with the move h4. Well, now comes the move which sets up a cunning trap, and that is queen to a5. So as you can see, I have highlighted by the arrows, white has few options such as knight to b3 or bishop to e2. However, more often than not, white players' eyes will literally lit up as they can come up with this nasty tactical move, knight to d5. So not only hitting the queen, but there is a threat of knight captures e7. And if black has to put the queen back to d8, then white attack will really crash on the king side. So by force, black has to exchange this queen. But now white revealed his important idea, namely in between move, knight captures e7 check, and after king to h8 and the move rook captures d2. If you count the material at this point, white emerged with a clear pawn advantage. So no wonder many white players has chosen this path thinking that they are completely winning. But guess what? This is exactly the point where white has fallen into the black counter trap. The real fun begins with rook to e8, and now even though white has three options, all of them gives black a good advantage. First, let me show you the main trap. Well, the natural move knight to d5 is a big time disaster, guys. And before we proceed, I just like to pause the video and find the sequence where black is coming on top with a huge advantage. Are you ready? Let's start. The forcing sequence starts with knight captures d5, pawn captures d5, and now this lovely move, knight captures f3, a double attack. So by force, white has to take this knight. But after that, yup, you guessed it, rook captures e3, attacking the knight. It doesn't matter however white support. Let's say bishop to g2. The next turn, we are going to chop off on g4. And now, if you count the material, not only black is a clear pawn up, but black has a 2 raking bishop. And by considering chess engine analysis, believe it or not, it gives black a huge +2 advantage, which is with the accurate play close to the winning. So this is one of the main trap if your opponent continue with blunder move 16 knight to d5. The second move I want to consider is h5, which is in fact highestly played move from this position. The point is, if black foolishly take this knight, then after h6, black bishop is a goner, and this position usually favor the white camp. So obviously we are not going to fall for it. Rather, we have the stunning reply here as well, starting with knight e captures g4, bam! Well, what's the point? What happens if white take our piece? The answer is very simple. Knight captures e4, not only attacking the rook, but in the next turn, we are going to take on e7, and again black emerge with a material advantage. For example, one of the game from the database continue with rook d to h2, chop off this knight, and now white played h captures g6, which at first sight looks very threatening. But the black player, who was the international master, continue with this very accurate sequence, knight to g3, attacking 2 pieces. White gives some checks, first rook check, then pawn check. But after rook captures f7, he realized that his rook is hanging as well as the bishop. So he continued with bishop to c4, pinning down the black rook. But now black deliver the final blow. Knight captures a1, rook captures a1, and now rook captures e3, forcing white to resign the game, as clearly there is no compensation for the loss of the extra piece. Last but not least, what happens if your opponent continue with g5, which is in fact one of the best reply. And against this, my recommendation is you should continue with this very flashy move, knight captures e4. Once again, white response is force. He has to take this knight. And after that, we are going to take on e7. And if you count the material at this point, yes, indeed, it is balanced. But the big time problem arises in the near future, as white e4 pawn is most likely a goner, and as I have highlighted over here, black has a very simple plan to gobble up that weak pawn. Now to understand this point, I like to show you one of the game from the database where black finished the white very quickly. White responded here with knight to b3, attacking on d6, and accordingly black counterattack with bishop to c6. Okay, white defended with bishop to g2, but missing the important point, that is knight to c4. Well, I think white was counting on all this and he played the move rook to e2. And his idea is, When white took this pawn, he was relying on this important tactic. Bishop captures a7, pinning down the white bishop. But at the end, it turned out that it was a clear miscalculation, as black shows this forcing sequence. Bishop captures g2, attacking two rooks, so white response is force. He has to take on g2. And now comes the sting in the tail. b6, trapping down that poor guy in the corner. White is in a desperate situation, so he continued with rook to g4, attacking the knight. But after knight to e5, it is pretty clear that that piece is going down. Rook to a4 happened, but after just one move, rook to a8, it is confirmed that black counter trap has been successfully employed in this game. That's it guys, I hope you enjoy and learn this high profile counter trap in the Sicilian Dragon. Remember, if your opponent continue with knight to d5, thinking that he is going to win a pawn, well, you should happily allow it with queen captures d2, knight captures e7, king to h8, and now rook captures d2. Because at the end, after rook to e8, as I have shown in this video, no matter however white plays, it is only black who will have all the fun in upcoming game. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to like, subscribe and comment, and I will meet you in my next episode very soon. Bye and take care.